Naughty. Men, what's a thing that can be scary about being a man? Story 1. When I was a teenage boy, my sister fell into a river. My dad put his hand on my back and pushed me in after her, saying, "Go get her." Her leg was stuck on something, but I got it free and she swam back to shore. I, however, was pinned by branches under the water that had somehow gotten around me. There was a whole tree under the surface. I remember looking up to the water's surface and seeing the silhouette of my family members walk away from the edge, thinking, "No, wait!" Long story short, my fight-or-flight system kicked in and I scrambled as hard as I could to free myself and eventually got free and came up to take the best breath ever. When I was crawling back on the sand, my dad, sister, and brother were about 100 yards down the bank. He turned and said, "Come on!" and I hurried after while gagging on water. That about sums up my experience so far. People just expect you to be okay in obviously dangerous situations. I knew guys who drank themselves to death because liquor is easy, but saying "I need help" is hard. That's just terrible from your dad, I'm going to be honest. I jumped in, not my son. Story 2. Being told that because you're a man, you aren't allowed to succumb to your chronic lower back pain. That you're less of a man because you have some days where you have trouble walking or even getting out of bed because it hurts to even breathe. Edit to everyone who has commented with their story so far, and the more I'm sure to come, thank you all. I truly appreciate the support I've gotten for my own situation, as well as being able to see what others are going through and that it doesn't have to be gone through alone. I thank you all, and I'm sorry. I more than likely won't be able to respond to everyone, but I will do my damnedest to at least read all I can. Please know that if anyone wants to play a game online with me to forget the pain or just do something other than hurt, I will be happy to try and find something to join you on, if that's something you're interested in or want to do. For those of you who aren't in this situation yet, lower back exercises, stretching, and use your goddamn glutes to lift. This will save you a world of hurt and help you in the long run. Do it now, no matter how much crap you get, do it. Edit, to be clear, use your glutes to lift, but also strengthen your core, lower back, and hips to make sure you aren't overloading any one of those muscle groups. Source, recovery from hip surgery and working with a lot of PTs to strengthen the area. Guys, I'll suggest this too. Get into yoga or something, a form of exercise that strengthens your core and stretches things. I know a lot of guys who focus on strength or endurance but ignore flexibility stuff. I know them because I've seen them hobbling around as men in their 60s who move like they're in their 80s. Story 3. Speaking on behalf of my husband, the sheer expectation that he can shoulder everyone's stress. If you are a man with emotional intelligence, people will simultaneously act like you are both a rare unicorn and that you must take all that emotional intelligence and merge it with the "men can shoulder it all" mentality. This means he's utilized way too often by too many family and friends who don't make any emotional effort. He's asked to manage everyone's drama. He doesn't, but the sheer expectation that he won't burn out simply because he's a man is hard to watch. I've been there, and I had to distance myself because of it, which leads to accusations of abandonment, etc. This is not limited to just men, but to all people. Story 4. You could be the most depressed person on the planet, and no one would give a crap. It's something I've been thinking about recently, and it's making me even more depressed. This may sound stupid, but I've realized, just like you did, that no one gives a crap, so I just started to act without pleasing others and caring what they think about me. Oft I still care, but much less than before. I love spending time with the right people, and I like my friends a lot, but I know, out of experience, that in the end, it will always be me and myself. Best friends for 10 years? That can change from one day to another. Being in a relationship for years? You can also be alone from one day to another. My point is that I love being with those people, but I always know that tomorrow I could be all by myself no matter what I do. Realizing that gives you some kind of freedom, but I don't need to justify myself anymore, except in professional/legal situations. I feel like this mentality towards men has been changing more recently, but it is still very prevalent, sadly. I once mentioned how going through certain things in my life brought me mentally to a very depressed, self-destructive place. And certain older, old-fashioned family members basically brushed it off as, "Bah, made you tougher." Story 5. How we're pretty much left to ourselves in the case of r/domestic violence or abuse. Yeah, I was molested when I passed out at a party when I was 15 and never told anyone till right now. 22 now. Never really figured out how to deal with the emotion, so I just try not to think about it. Edit. Thanks for the support, guys. I'm probably not going to tell any of my family or friends. I just don't want people to see me as a victim, especially because I'm basically the man of the house after my dad left a few years ago. Maybe I'll talk to a therapist, but probably can't afford it. As for telling a future significant other, I think that's off the table. I remember I had told a girl before when she opened up to me about being abused one night, and she didn't even acknowledge it and stopped talking to me after, so I'd rather not tell any woman because they just don't seem to take it seriously and or look at a man differently. I do appreciate you all, though. Love you people. Story 6. My last relationship, I got cheated on. She, my ex, spread rumors that I was abusive and violent to hide the fact that she's an unloyal person. I had to find out through her best friend messaging me if it was true because I seemed like the nicest person and she wanted to know the truth. I explained and she was shocked. I was shocked. I didn't think she'd stoop lower than she had done already. I'm lucky no one took her seriously enough to contact the authorities. Story 7. I am pretty young, but somehow this crap still happens. I was playing with my sisters at the park and we were playing tag. At one point, this middle-aged lady comes up to my sister and asks if they know me and how they know me and whatever. I come up to her and say, "Those are my sisters," and she just gives me the stink eye, ignores me, and turns back to my sisters and keeps interrogating them. It was only after my mom came to see what was going on that the lady left. By the way, I'm in middle school and may have been mistaken for being 11 years old, so I don't know what that lady thought I was doing. Maybe she was trying to kidnap your sisters. I think a big part of this is that stories about creeps taking kids, and worse, have become more prevalent in modern day. I don't know if that means it is happening more or the internet just makes it so we hear about them way more often, but it is a lot of people very on edge about anything like that happening. Honestly, it sucks, but I can't blame people for being worried, especially when it comes to the safety of kids. Story 8. I don't know if it is actually scary for me, but it is awkward and something I overthink. I'm over 6'5" and can come off as intimidating to do that alone. But I'm really just a teddy bear. At my job, I have to walk through a dark alley in a downtown area to get to the parking lot. Lots of times there are women walking back to their cars as well, and then my lumbering loner self is walking behind them. I feel awkward and scared they're going to think I'm going to hurt them or I'm going to rob them or something. I'm just trying to get home. I follow farther behind, always act as inconspicuous as possible, which probably makes me more suspicious. Get on my phone like I am texting or act like I am calling someone so they can hear I am far behind them and not stalking up on them. Maybe it's just my social awkwardness or the fact there is a lot of crime that happens in our town, but I don't want to be seen as a threat by people I would never hurt. I made sure to know my regular women around where I work so that I can follow them back to their cars when I worked at another retail chain. They get a big dude to protect them at night, and I don't have to walk by myself. Story 9. That in some circumstances you can be blamed for inappropriate behavior even if you didn't intend for it and still not be able to justify it. That sometimes you're expected to make the first move or show dominance, like when proposing or leading a group to do something. That you can get a boner at every second, and if someone sees it, it either becomes a joke or an embarrassment. And if you get hit down there, then you know what happens: excruciating pain plus a danger of becoming impotent or related complications. That sometimes you're expected to make the first move or show dominance, like when proposing or lead a group to do something. I'm not a man, but I hate that society teaches this to young boys. I personally rather approach a guy I happen to like. I was rejected maybe twice because the guy's already had a girlfriend. I know what I'm like, and I am far too impatient to wait around and hope to get it. Please like and subscribe if you've made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the video and have a wonderful day. Story 10. I'm in college, so I often go to the library/cafeteria late at night. It is the most uncomfortable thing to walk back to my dorm room that a girl in front of me is also walking to. I have to force myself to stop walking or really slow down because I never want the girl to feel uncomfortable. I'd imagine it's a lot more uncomfortable for the girl in front of me, but I am truly terrified of being seen as creepy or a stalker. Edit. This is not a men's right post or anything of the sort. Violence against women is not something I take lightly. This is a lose-lose situation for everyone involved, especially for the women who fear for their own safety. In these situations, I have started to take my keys out, hold them by the keychain, and let them jingle a little as a friendly heads up that there's someone behind, and not trying to be weird about it. Edit. Well, didn't know a television serial killer apparently did the same thing. I like to watch happy things. Yeah, I'm 5'11", bald with a beard, and a decent-sized guy, so when I'm walking around behind folks, I am also very very conscious of this. Thankfully, I almost always have my headphones and am listening to comedy podcasts or audiobooks, so I'm typically laughing to myself. You all heard my laugh on this channel, and hopefully it helps folks realize I'm just a big old goober. Who could be scared of this laugh? Story 11. I'm 29 and don't have a girlfriend. My fear isn't so much not finding someone, there's always time for that. My fear is meeting someone I think is the right person, having kids, and it doesn't turn out to be the case. I'm 29, met someone I thought was the right person, had a daughter, and it didn't turn out to be the case. Yep. Sucks. Story 12. Your whole identity is wrapped up in your job. You weren't born to be a doctor, lawyer, or entrepreneur. You must be some kind of loser. Your industry is laying people off. You're definitely a loser. Your fault for choosing the wrong major 20 years ago. Gosh, this hits home. Story 13. Being in an abusive relationship and intimately harassed and not having people take you seriously about it. God, that is terrifying. Story 14. This one's a lot less serious than the other answers, but having to be the one to make the first move with a girl is utterly terrifying. I asked the girl I've been crushing on for her number a few days ago, and even though it worked out, I felt like I was about to throw up from all the nerves. It still has an impact and is arguably way more common. I feel you, bro, with that one. It's a shame, especially when you don't know how to approach people. This is another thing I feel like is changing in society, but for some reason a lot slower. Hey, younger generation listening to this, don't be like my ineffective generation. Change this crap. Story 15. No assumed support network. Too many men become isolated and lonely because they cannot share their emotions with their friends. Government services will also put you right to the bottom of every list, so don't become homeless. Yeah, although I've sort of forced that upon myself because I don't want to bother anyone. Story 16. The first time one of your balls ascends into your groin. I'm confused. Can you explain what this is? 26-year-old male? Edit. Thanks all. Now I'm worried my balls are going to disappear. Story 17. Expectations to be a man. It's actually pretty straightforward. Step 1. Be as swift as the coursing river. Story 18. The loneliness of it. I've got a small but very close-knit group of friends and family, but even still I sometimes wonder why I'm so unlovable because I'm still single. People tell me all the time they don't need no man, but for guys, if you're single, you're seen as a creep, weirdo, or defective in some way. I don't think anyone sees me as a creep, weirdo, or defective because I'm 30 and still single, but I definitely do. It makes me feel worthless a lot. And even if I did get a girlfriend, I feel like I wouldn't be able to keep her for long because I'd still be undeserving crap. It's hard when self-hatred gets ingrained. Hey, I didn't find my long-term partner until I was 36. A lot of that was getting my own life together, and a lot was just finding the right person. And women feel this kind of stuff too, just with different labels. We need to get rid of any stigma against single people. Story 19. Fear of failing the people who are depending on you. This hits hard. Story 20. As a teacher, I can't help a female student without people thinking I'm trying to F her. My sister stayed in a class along with another girl her age to retake a test, and after my sister finished the test, she got ready to leave. The teacher, who was a man, asked her to stay until the other student was done. I can only assume it's because the male teacher didn't want to be alone in the classroom with a female student. God, I would suggest that classrooms should all have security cameras watching then to avoid anything like this, but you just know some schools would use that to monitor students and make their lives hell. Ugh. Story 21. You're pretty much on your own. Less of your problems are taken seriously. You're seen as weak if you cannot sort them out. You're expected to throw yourself in harm's way at a moment's notice. The courts look at you less favorably, so does a large portion of society. You're seen as a potential R-ist and child M. I love kids, but God forbid I smile at one in public. You're the one who has to be able to sort everything out, even if you sometimes feel like just curling up in a ball and crying. Story 22. Expressing feelings. I'm still a human. I should be able to express my feelings without seeming weak. 100%. Even men push this BS to other men. It's so garbage, it's effed me up for quite a few years of my life before I said F it and expressed my feelings in any way I wanted. Story 23. Losing your pee is an industrial accident. Industrial accident, just a fancy way of saying putting your D somewhere doesn't